Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem Rakakwadash. And I want to say Shalom to Akhenakwat out there pursuing this truth diligently, coming at you once again with another lesson. And with that, another quick hit, right? So we're over here in the daily verses, as per usual. And I was clicking through, and I only clicked. Did I even click twice? I think I only clicked once because I basically just went to, when you go there, it'll give you the verse of the day. And I think I just clicked random verse, and I think the first one I got was over here was John 15 and 16. Okay, so it's a little quick one, and this is one of those topics that you could do a little bit on, or you could go really deep into it. So we'll see how long we go on this for. But without any further ado, all right, let's go ahead and read it. Okay, and really what we're talking about today is the really debunking another Christian concept of, I chose to seek the Lord. You didn't choose anything. Okay, you didn't choose anything. Okay, these Christians don't know what they're talking about. They say they love the Lord, but they don't know His name. All right, they say they love the Father and the Son. They don't know the Father's name. They don't know the Son's name. All right, they say they love the Lord, but they don't know the Bible. They can't read it. All right, they say they don't. Again, you would know these things if you truly love the Lord. But anyway, it's because they were not chosen. All right, they think that they chose the Lord, but the Lord didn't choose them. All right, that's the key. Okay, you can try to choose the Lord, but if the Lord didn't choose you, you're asked out, man. So this is John 15 and 16. We'll read it, right from the well. All right, I have it up. Actually, we'll jump over here because I do have it up over here in full capacity. It says, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it you." So that's where it originally left off. I wanted to get 17, 18, and 19, just for a little bit extra, extra goodness. Verse 17, "These things I command you, that ye love one another. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. If ye were of the world would love his own. But because ye are not of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, therefore the world hateth you." And we've touched on that, time and time again. That's the real reason why we're hated, is because we got chosen and they didn't. Okay, and they're a bunch of pick-me's. We got chosen and they didn't. Okay, if you ever see a woman that cooks for a man and cleans, and a woman isn't really supposed to be all over social media like that, or over the internet plastering her face like that, because it's really a harlotous thing. It really makes you into a prostitute if you really want to get down to it, as the Apostle Gabar has mentioned before. But there's women that I've seen on the internet, and they talk, come with me and show you what I do for a day for my man. And, she'll show him, she'll show herself, packing up a lunch, clean the house, making sure this happens for him and all that. And, all the women will come, "Oh, you fucking pick me. You fucking pick me." Yeah, well, aren't you trying to get picked? That's why you're not picked. That's why you're bitter, and all you do is fucking bitch and moan and gripe all the goddamn time because you won't get picked, because you're not doing anything that makes you worthy of getting picked. All right, so they're jealous at the people that did get picked. Okay, and that's another reason why these people hate us so much. All right, is that we were chosen and they weren't. All right, we were chosen and they weren't, and they feel like we have no right. All right, to be chosen. And that's why we say, "Oh no, the Lord, the Lord chose it." No, you have no right. The Lord didn't choose you. Why? Because it seems too far-fetched to them. All right, because why would the Lord choose us? All right, well, because He's gonna have mercy upon who He has mercy upon. He's gonna have vengeance upon who He has vengeance upon. It's that simple. Okay, it is that simple. Okay. And again, verse 18, "If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you." And really, they hate us because we're of the Lord. And deep down inside, I think there's an inkling that they know something's up. But, they just attest that it's for other reasons. "Oh, I don't like them because they're, they think they're better than." "Oh, I don't like them because, I don't like it because..." No, it's really because who we are. But they're trying to make it of how we are. Okay? They're trying to not like us because of how we are. They don't like us because of who we are. The Lord's children, right? Let me grab a drink. And they don't like it, all right? They feel like it's impossible, right? Because if they're not chosen, why are we, right? What makes us so good? Well, nothing really, right? Other than, Lord 1, we're of the elect, all right? That's the only thing that makes us good. All right, if we're of the elect, is that we're of the elect. That's it. All right, and that the Lord chose us. We didn't do anything necessarily special or anything. It's just that the Lord chose us to be a special people regardless. Okay, and made us different than everybody else. But that's nothing that we did. All right, that's nothing we specifically did. We didn't search the Lord out. We didn't do any of these things. All right, the Lord searched us out. A lot of us were in states of life where, you know, like I was a pothead. I was working at a sandwich shop. All right, where I ended up meeting my wife, and I was a pothead, and that was pretty much it, man. I mean, I was sleeping on top bunk of my little cousin's bed, 'cause she didn't sleep in it because even though she was like 10 or 11, that she was just like terrified of it, so she slept in her mom's room, and I came down from Oregon, all right, to Vegas, and I was just sleeping up there, you know, smoking weed. That whole family's a bunch of losers anyway. That's what they do, smoke a bunch of weed and shit. And I was just sleeping on the top bunk, smoking weed, listening to music, trying to be a rapper. That was it. That's all I had going on. Trying to think playing video game. That's it. That's all I had going on, man. That's all I had. So I wasn't really I worked, and then just that's it. You know, I didn't have much going on at all. And then, you know, I met this girl, all right, would come to be my wife, and she was a Seventh-day Adventist, and I was just now coming around at that point that the concept that God probably does exist, because I dabbled with it before, but I was like, I don't really know, maybe not, because I tried being Christian, and I didn't feel like there was a presence, and I tried being, what was I after, you know, well, really the first thing I really tried to be was, I guess it was a weird mix. Really, a theistic Satanist, right? Which there's a rabbit hole if you ever look up into that. I was really trying to be a theistic Satanist, for most of the time I was in high school, I'd say. But maybe some middle school and high school was theistic Satan. The latter half I dropped off of it because I just went to atheism, because there was obviously nothing there. There's nothing there. Tried doing, you know, rituals and shit. There was nothing there. It didn't work. And then I said, you know what, you know, there was darkness in my life, so I said, you know what, maybe God does exist. Maybe I'll try being a Christian, calling Jesus. And there was nothing there, so I went back to atheism. And then years later, I tried, you know, going to the Hinduism, because, you know, reincarnation seems probable, right? So, like, all right, well, you know, maybe that's it. And again, didn't really feel like there was much there. But I was figuring, you know, maybe there's some sort of God out there. I just, you know, didn't really know the concept. But I was working at a sandwich shop, and they hired this girl, Jake, and she was, of course, she was cute. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna talk her up. And she was involved in church and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, that's cool. I don't really know too much about it, but it wasn't too long after that I knew her, that she started dabbling in the truth. All right, it was another individual that started showing her the truth, one of her relatives, and I believe the first was like Adam Abbott. And I don't know too much about Adam Abbott. I remember when we first started talking and stuff and dating, she showed me a couple of Adam Abbott's videos, and I didn't like them. I just ignored them. And she was showing me I remember, like, the first reaction to the truth was like, are you sure this ain't like some type of cult? This seems like a little culty to me. Like, there's some things that are just out of date and out of fashion. You know, worldly Jake shit. And that's what I was saying. And I was like, I don't know, man. This seems a little culty to me. And as you know, you still hear that same thing today, and that really, it shows you that you don't really understand, one, what cult means, and you don't understand what this truth is in the first place. But as you know, we continued to date or whatever, I was still, you know, whatever. And then at some point, I don't remember how, she wasn't on Adam Abbott for that long. I don't even think it was a month, because the person that showed them the truth started showing them GMS. It went straight to GMS, no IOIC, ISPK, it was GMS. And that's when she started sending me those videos. And I remember, I always tell the testimony, it was GMS Spiritual Warfare. Okay, he has GMS Spiritual Warfare 2 now, but it was his first page back then. And that's the brother I was watching when I woke up, right? through superior power of Yahweh Shemel Shai. And I believe through he was saying the names Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, and it clicked. I said, whoa, there's some weight in those names. All right, there was never names, and there was no power in the names God, Jesus Christ, Shiva, Lucifer, Belial, all these different types of names. There's no power in them, but there's names. There's power in the name Yahweh Shemel Shai. There's power. You can feel it. All right, those that are in tune, you can feel it. There's power in the name. And I remember I was doing it all wrong, but I started praying. All right, trying to as best as I could in that name. I was doing it all wrong, but yeah, man. And then that the rest is history. And that was almost 7 years ago now. 7 or 8 years ago now. And I 8 because I was dabbling with the concept. Because I was at the first house. Because we ended up moving out to a different house outside of Vegas. We moved because we were living in Vegas, and then we moved outside of Vegas. I remember that's when I got the name. Was before Vegas. All right, before we moved to the other place. That's when I got the name, and I still wasn't really. And then we moved to the other place, and I still wasn't fully in. Then I got really sick, and then I made a vow to serve the Lord. Right. And then I was healed. So. And you say, oh, you could have just waited it now. I was sick for months, man. All right. Because I knew of the truth, but I wasn't really, applying myself or doing anything with it. And, the Lord messed me up for that, man. And it's funny because a lot of the brothers and apostles have a very similar testimony. It's not the same testimony. I know Apostle Gabar's testimony. It's not the exact same. But his was kind of similar because he saw the brothers out there. He found himself in a situation. I'm not, some people know. I'm not going to tell his whole story, but he's found himself in a situation where he reached out to the Lord, or no, the Lord reached out and said, you know why you're in here, right? And he says, yep. So, and then he said, if you get me out of here, I'll serve you. All right, and that's what happened, and that's basically what happened with me, but different. I was, in a very. I thought I was gonna die. I felt like a newborn kid. I felt like Bambi coming out the womb. I was bad. I was shaky. I could barely walk downstairs. I felt like it felt like death. I can't even explain it. I went to the ER several times. I could never find anything with me. And they ended up finding like a minor heart defect that would not cause any of those things, mind you. And it's reversible, mind you. LVH, left ventricular hypertrophy. It's just like a thickening of the left valve. It can happen if you smoke a lot, which I was at the time. It can also happen if you strain yourself too hard, which at the time I was smoking and skateboarding a lot. So I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with that. But and it causes like dizziness, and I don't have that anymore. I believe in true faith in Yahweh Shemel Shai that's either gone or pretty much diminished to the point where it's whatever. But yeah, man. So and I was very sick, and soon within days, I think of praying to the Lord, say, because I was I wasn't watching my videos, I wasn't making videos, I wasn't doing anything. I was dilly dallying, I was still doing wickedness and shit, still smoking all this. And I said, look, I said, Lord, if you deliver me out of this, I'll start making lessons, right? I'll start doing better. And yeah, I got better. So call all Yahweh Shemel Shai for that. Shows that the Lord ain't nothing to joke with, man. But yeah, so we were chosen. We didn't choose the Lord. The Lord chose us. Okay, that's the Christians are. I chose the Lord. No, you didn't. Okay, that's where predestination comes in. There's our one definition for the lesson. Predestined. Okay, to determine something in advance. Okay, to describe a divine plan or will. Okay, often used in theology, often used in discussions regarding divine will, particularly the idea that Yahweh has chosen or destined certain outcomes or individuals. Yeah, to either be saved or not to be saved. He chose it before the foundation of the earth. Right? Romans 8 and 29 through 30. It says in 29, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son. So you were going to be a follower of Yahweh Shai, him through his son. That was already predetermined. All right, whether you're going to be with him or against him. Right, it says that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, he also justified, and whom he justified, them he also glorified. Yeah, and here's the one about foundation, all right? And this is the last scripture we have for the lesson. Ephesians 1:4-9, it says, according as he hath chosen us in him, not us in him, all right, or him in us, right? But no, according as he chosen us in him, he chose us, all right? We didn't choose him. It says, before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy, that means separate, set apart, right? And without blame before him in love, having predestined us, chosen ahead of time, all right, us under the adoption of children by Yahushua HaMashiach. Excuse me, 1 minute. To himself, according to the good pleasure of his will, to the praise of the glory of his grace, wherein he hath made us accepted in the beloved, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace, wherein he hath abounded towards us in all wisdom and prudence, having made known unto us the mystery of his will, according to his good pleasure, which he had purposed in himself. He made us know the mystery of his will. We didn't do it. We didn't choose that. All right, going back up to verse 4, he hath chosen us in him. When? Before the foundation of the world. We had no say in this, man. Some of us were gangbangers, right? Some people might have even been a murderer, right? A real hard gangbanger, shooters, right? Some people might have been homosexual, all sorts of harlots, all sorts of different things. But none of us really chose him because he chose us, all right? And again, the reason that we're doing what we're doing is because he chose us. The words that we're speaking are his words. They're not our words. Really, we're, I don't want to say automatons, but we're really, just, you know, like, gramophones, all right? We're really just acting as the mouth of the Lord, okay? That's what we are. And we love doing it, all right? It's great. But we don't do anything in ourselves. It's all of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. It's the same thing with this truth. This truth is of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, not us. We didn't choose the Lord chose us. So just a little short one. That's where we're going to close out. Lord want was edifying. Again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Shalom to you brothers and sisters out there. Keep enduring, keep the faith. Again, till next one, Lord willing, Shalom.